Ladies and gentlemen, I am Sid Alpha. I was reluctant to divulge some of this information, as was Leonard French, out of respect to Alex Mauer's family. The hope was that someone would be able to get through to her in regards to her actions and what she's been doing to all parties involved. Unfortunately, having any form of faith in the American physical and mental health systems would be about as effective as wishing that unicorns exist. In response to multiple death threats that Mauer had issued and her apparent degenerating mental stability, Mauer was placed on what is called a 302 hold, which, for those of you that are not aware, in Pennsylvania, a 302 hold is an involuntary mental health hold where the person in question is committed against their will. After an extensive evaluation, Mauer was released, citing that there was no furtherance of the threat. Earlier this afternoon, Mauer picked up where she left off, exhibiting a complete lack of understanding as to why this had happened to her, and instead of seeing the concern that people have exhibited, she has decided to cut ties with her family, seeming to think that they have, quote, sided with her opposition. She continued.
What's up, guys? Flash Frame here. As you could have heard in the opening minute or so of my video, that is Sid Alpha's video, published approximately 3 hours. Approximately 3 hours prior to my creation of this video. Not exactly what I wanted to wake up to this morning. So, let's review. Sorry for my silence. I'm a bit stunned, and I know I really shouldn't be. A 302 hold was not a 302 was not what Alex needed. This is unfortunate in multiple ways. Alex, this isn't... This is every indication of someone who is in a position that thinks the entire world is against them. She issued a letter that she sent out. If you have not seen Sid Alpha's video, I'm going to read it here. To all, I just want to let the media know that the video by Leonard French that claims I received the help I need was complete bullshit. My ex-wife, who I have not seen in months, filed a 302 against me. Now, a 302 is an involuntary mental instability hold, essentially. You get committed against your will. The police forced me out of my house in handcuffs. I explained to them that I already reported the death threats against me to the police and was told it was freedom of speech to make death threats. The cops forced me into a hospitalization against my will. Now, okay, so there's 3 paragraphs here, so I want to kind of break down this first one. In this case, yes, this is not the help that Alex Maurer needed. I was hoping that this was a voluntary thing, that she had taken it upon herself to go seek help. That's clearly not the case. Ex-wife she's not seen once has filed a 302 against her. I mean, that sucks. That means that her home situation has not been the best. Not only with the gender issues. I explained to them that I already reported the death threats against me to the police and was told it was freedom of speech to make death threats. This could be gross incompetence in my mind to the police handling. This is one of two things. It's either gross incompetence by the police that handled the situation and told her this, or she convinced herself of this, and like, of course the cops that came later were like, oh, you're full of shit. Now, this is a problem. This second bit is an issue. The first thing that happened at the hospital was they told me I wasn't a girl, gave me a wristband that said I was male. Next, they took away my female clothing and forced me to wear disposable scrubs. The next day, they transported me in an ambulance to a different facility where they did a full strip search of me. At this facility, they asked me many evasive questions, including how many sexual partners I've had and at what age I was when I had my first sexual encounter. Okay. Let's break this down. Now, I've never been institutionalized, nor have I had to deal with anyone who has. I have, however, spoken with someone who graduated top of their class in psychiatric studies, and had to be aware of what happens. Now, it is standard operating procedure in a mental institution to remove a person of their clothes and issue them essentially disposable scrubs. You are processed as if you are just as dangerous as the next person, especially under a 302. What is concerning here is if she was misgendered and she was told that she's male and all of that. Also, strip searching is pretty common from what I've been able to suss out from information of other people. And the sexual partners and sexual encounters thing is a typical question, as early sexual encounters can lead to mental instability. However, if they denied her gender identity and then went on to do all of these things, that is going to force a trans individual to internalize hard. Very, very hard. This is not a good thing. This is the exact opposite of what Alex would have needed at this given time. police and crisis workers had completely ignored my story about having been told it's my freedom of speech to use hate speech. Yes, I would believe that. The doctor I saw at the second facility understood the story and said because there is no furtherance of the threat, it's fine. I was released as immediately as possible. The entire period of time having been away from my house was 5 days. No one in my family showed me any support whatsoever. This incident has led me to decide to no longer have any communication with anyone in my family at all because they sided with my opposition. I can definitely believe the first one about the police and crisis workers ignoring the freedom of speech to use hate speech bit. Because while in technicality, yes, it is your freedom of speech in the United States of America to use hate speech, that does not mean that death threats are okay. Death threats are not hate speech. They are an imminent threat against a person. The doctor at the second facility said there's no furtherance of a threat. It's fine. It's not really fine. Legally, however, because there is no furtherance of a threat, there's no real need to take action legally. Now, do keep in mind, I'm no attorney, I'm no law expert, but from instances with other people that I have dealt with over the years, these are some of the inferences of data I can make. So 5 days away, that's pretty standard from what I've come to understand. Family showed no support whatsoever. This is a perception of Alex's due to the traumatic situation that she has now gone through. You're not allowed to contact anybody that's been... If you're 302, you get no contact with anybody. It's just, that's how it works. You don't get to talk to anybody. Except for the hospital staff and whatnot. Like, you are treated as an imminent danger, and you are not allowed contact with the outside world because that could cause further problems. Keep an eye out for the next big move. It should be coming soon. Alex Maurer. This is exactly the opposite of what I was hoping would happen. I had hoped that she had gone to get help herself. If what Alex says the hospital did to her is true, this has only compounded and resolved this individual to the actions that they are about to take, whatever those may be. It's not a good situation for anybody right now. So, for those of you that have been following this case, for those of you that have been affected by Alex's DMCA takedowns, that have been affected by this whole situation, again, my apologies on behalf of the trans community. This is not... This is both typical and not typical. This is typical of what I hear from the extreme side of experiences from transgendered individuals. So let's break this into the second part of my video today. I mentioned a while back that I wanted to do a little bit of talking about transgendered issues in general and kind of my take on some things. So, it's being transgendered in general is a difficult position to be in. The reason for that is most of the time, as a trans individual, you don't want to talk about being a trans individual. Okay? So, I'm going to be using Alex's situation as an example. I asked that you guys hold through the video for some final discussion regarding the instance and my personal feelings on Alex's situation at the very end. So, the average trans person doesn't want to talk about being trans. The average person that's going through a transition doesn't want to talk about being trans. They want to be treated as the gender that they are affirming to, which I would like to say that I am quite proud of a lot of the people that have been involved in this situation regarding reporting Alex as female. And unfortunately, I don't think that that's something that Alex is going to take into consideration. My apologies, guys. I just woke up to this, so I'm trying to work through it. So, what goes into being a trans person in the United States exactly? Well, one of the problems with being transgendered in the United States is that there's no what the community calls standards of care, really. Now, online there's a rather large push to follow a form of standards of care if you go through transitioning. Now, in Europe, there is a literal held standards of care that you must adhere to in order to transition. So, in America, it's essentially the way that I was going to go about it anyway was go talk to a psychologist, affirm identity. Thank you, dear. Affirm your identity. Ensure that nothing is off, and then find somebody who is willing to go through hormone replacement therapy with you. In America, that's basically what you need. You need to find somebody who can essentially say, yes, you are comfortable in your chosen gender identity. You must then find somebody to put you on hormone replacement therapy. And then you begin hormone replacement therapy with their monitoring. And then you go about the job of getting all of your documents changed from your born gender to your chosen gender, which is a good amount of legal fees when it all comes down to it. And that's it. That's essentially what it takes in the United States. There's not nearly enough oversight, in my opinion, in the United States. It is very, very easy for a person to self-medicate to get hormones online, and attempt the therapies themselves. There's no set standard. There's no set standard in the U.S. that I was able to come across during my research for my own transition, which makes it very confusing as a trans individual in the United States. Now, here, I live in the Netherlands now with my wife, and I am looking towards my own transition. I know I don't look feminine. I am well aware of this fact. However, my own issues have dictated over the years that I need to seek out this path. If I was to start today, which I cannot yet because I don't have a doctor for it or anything, but if I was to start today, if I was to begin today, I would be on an approximately 2-year path before I could even get on hormones. Constant psychological evaluation, constant discussion, a period of approximately a year of living in my chosen gender. So it's a much longer trajectory, but has proven itself primarily to giving us more stable transitions. I said in my last video, to a small amount of discussion after the fact with someone close to me, that when you get on hormone replacement therapy, you essentially go through a second puberty. And I'm going to stand by that because you're replacing your born gender's hormones, and you're blocking and replacing your born gender's hormones with your new gender's hormones so that your body can stabilize that. While doing that, your body still has to make the necessary changes to make the changes that are required to kind of handle what's going on. And given your body does not have the ability to manufacture this hormone itself, you're on medication. You're on that medication for the rest of your life. So it's something that needs to be monitored much more closely in the United States. It's not here, or it's not in the US. It is out here in Europe. And seeing what I'm seeing from Alex only, in my mind, reinforces the need for a stronger standards of care in the United States, for an overhaul of the current mental health industry in the United States. Because everything about how this went down went wrong. Now again, there is no excusing Alex for what she has done in these instances. She has issued death threats. That is not to be forgotten. She has issued DMCA takedowns of people's channels. This is not to be forgotten. She's going after Turner Broadcasting, which, I mean, really? But, okay. Like, she's unhinged at this point, and the 302 only helped to strengthen that. It is not something that has helped her in the slightest. To Sid Alpha and Leonard French, Um, I know that you guys are trying your best with this situation. Um, Leonard was under. I am completely sure that Leonard was under the impression that this was a bet. This would end up better than it did here. I have no doubts about that. Leonard seems like a really good guy. Everything I know about him, everything that anyone says about him is really good, unless it's someone on the opposition of him. And my apologies for the European sirens going by. Um, Anything that I have come to understand about Mr. French is that he is an upstanding gentleman that is doing the best in a situation that he's found himself thrust in here. The same goes for Sid Alpha. Sid Alpha's job is to report this stuff, and he's doing what is his job. It sucks that he's been sent death threats. No one should have to go through that. But that is part of the industry at this point, which is unfortunate. And I really hope that things stay okay, that Alex doesn't end up off more of a deep end, because this 302 situation has and will have only emboldened Alex to possible action that maybe she wouldn't have taken prior. And that's not Leonard's fault. That's not Sid Alpha's fault. That's a failing on the United States mental health institution. Because if what Alex has said, which a majority of it I do believe, especially regarding what happened to her as she was sent to the institution, if they continuously misgendered her, if they assigned her male, if they, well, and it's clear that they would have taken away her clothing, and all the questions would have only compounded the situation again. She has had to, for the past 5 days, retreat into herself, and has only strengthened her own views on everything. And that is not what was needed in this situation. So, I want to thank you guys again for watching this video, watching my take on it, and hearing me out. I'm just one person in a sea of people that's covering this. Again, I will link to Leonard French and Sid Alpha in this video. I will link, in fact, directly to Sid Alpha's video regarding Alex's return in the description below. This is not good for anybody, guys. This isn't good for Alex. This isn't good for us. This is bad. I had really, really hoped that she was getting the help she needed, and it's very, very clear that this went disastrously wrong. So, well, anyways, till next time, I'm FlashFrame. Thanks for checking out the FlashShock channel. Please leave a like, subscribe if you like the content so far. There will be, I'm sure I will be covering this for some time to come as new information comes out. So, thank you again, everyone, and take it easy, as difficult as that might be in these current times. Later.